Okay, hello, hello. Just making sure we are officially live. Let's see. Team, let me know if we're live, please. Because it takes a minute. Okay. Let's see. Yes, okay, we're live. Just want to make sure. All right, hello, everyone. Welcome. How are we doing today? Super excited if you're catching the replay, comment replay. I just got off our mindset call with the students, which I also gave a pass to anyone who's in the 5 days of summer. So they got to come on. It was phenomenal. I mean, really, really good. A lot of great feedback, hundreds of comments. So I'm glad that it landed with so many people. We talked about how to get out of survival mode, how to live in your day to day, how to step into power, all of that. It was phenomenal. So good. But in the meantime, I want to talk a little bit, and I'm going to get it pulled up here about wholesaling. What we're focusing on today is all things wholesaling, and Laura will be on in just a moment. I just want to get it pulled up. Okay. And I want to know of who's on, who doesn't know really what wholesaling is. They really haven't done it. They don't really know the steps, the transaction, or anything like that. I'd love to know into the chat. And keep in mind that I do read all the chats while we're live. So any feedback, takeaways, things that are really landing for you. Hey, LJ, thank you for commenting now. I know I can see comments. Just let me know. But I love wholesaling. So let me talk a little bit about my story in wholesaling. As all you all know that, or if you don't know, you will know, I'm Laura's daughter. I've been investing in wholesaling. I've been wholesaling for 10 years. Okay. It will be 10 years in October. I started wholesaling as a means to an end. So I just shared this on the mindset call, but I really did start because I wanted money. It was the easiest way to get into real estate. I didn't have the liabilities to fix and flip and rentals. And then I also wanted to do it completely virtual. So if any of you are interested in virtual, something that was really important to me was to be able to do it from anywhere in the world. Anywhere in the world. My first international deal that I did, I closed in 2019. I had been wholesaling for 4 years. I was closing the deal as I was walking the black sands of St. Lucia in the Virgin Islands. I've done deals while I was in Japan for coaching stuff. I've done deals while I was in Italy. I've done deals from Alaska, Hawaii. I swear they might as well be their own country, but I know they're the US. And I've done deals from everywhere. I mean, I've done it from my living room. So the reason I love wholesaling is you could do any of the strategies, but this one is by far the easiest one to do from anywhere. You create a lot of capital with wholesaling. So the average wholesaling deal is $10,000. So you create a lot of capital by wholesaling. There's low liability. You're never really the owner of the property. You're an owner per contract. You literally own the property for about 5 minutes at closing. And so for me, there's not a lot of liability there. I don't have to worry about the market going up and down. Now I have to innovate. I have to pivot depending on what's going on in the market and what works strategy wise to get deals and to work with my buyers. But I'm never really like struggling the way that a lot of other people do because I stay on top of the market, what is working, what doesn't work, and that kind of stuff. So like I said, and I was talking to my sister about this the other day. I said, wholesaling is not easy. It's not the easiest of the three strategies. But if you have low capital or you're wanting to get more capital or you really want to understand the business, I like it for that reason. Now, I also do, my end buyers in a lot of my wholesaling transactions, 99% of them are fix and flippers and landlords. So me as the wholesaler, if I want to transfer into the other strategies, I know already how to find properties. So I'm not paying a wholesaler's fee. I'm not paying an agent's commission. I know how to get around that to be able to wholesale. All right. Now that Laura's on, we can jump into the transaction chart and everything there. Laura, is there anything you want to say about wholesaling while I take a quick drink so I can hopefully stop coughing that I haven't said already?
Sure. Well, I know a lot of you might have heard that wholesaling is illegal and all kind of stuff. So I just wanted to make sure that it's not illegal. It has to be done differently in different states. Some
Yes.
states might require you to have a license. Some states might require you to do things a certain way, like you don't have to have a license. For example, in Illinois, if you do one deal, but then you need to have a license after that. So there is some type of regulation, and look at the regulation as a positive thing because they have to put some type of parameters. So, we had too many people doing the wrong things with wholesaling. So, for instance, you cannot misrepresent yourself being the owner on the property if you're not. You have a contract on the property. You're selling the contract. You're not selling the property. Okay. You need to have some agreement in place. I've seen where people uh, try to flip property without no agreement, just a word of mouth. You cannot do that legally. So there has to be some regulation. So with that said, if you are required to be licensed in your state, don't see that as an obstacle. I was licensed for over 20 years as a wholesaler. You just have to disclose that you're licensed on the contract. And nowadays it's easier to get a license. You can take online classes, online courses, and then take the state exam. You don't have to go anywhere, do anything specific to do that. But if that's what is preventing you from wholesaling because you have to be licensed, that should not be an issue.
Definitely. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk a little bit. You in the Facebook group, we gave you a wholesaling transaction chart. So you want to pull that out because I'm not going to be sharing screen, but I want you to grab it in the Facebook group. But let's talk about what the steps are to wholesaling, okay? So the very first thing that you do when you're going into how a wholesaling transaction begins is you're going to be talking to sellers, okay? So you're going to get on the phone with sellers and you're going to start calling. And this is everyone's biggest fear. I guarantee you in the chat, if I told you all to get on the phone today, one or two of you may say yes. And into the chat, I would love to know who of you has that fear of getting on the phone. Engage with me, ladies. I see you. Engage. And so I want to know because what you do is every day you're on the phone. Now, I will teach ways throughout this week on how to get around being on the phone. We'll talk about a few of them today. But every day you get on the phone and you're talking to sellers. You have to talk to a seller to get a property under contract. Every real estate transaction, whether it's a bank or something, someone has to sell that rights to that, to that property, to the land, whatever you're doing. So I have a cough. I was sick like 2 months ago and they just live with me. So I apologize for that. Okay, so what you do is you reach out to sellers. You guys go into the seller says yes, and you go into what I call the negotiation stage. You start negotiating a price point. All right. So you negotiate a price point with the seller, and to keep it simple, we're going to keep it at 100K. I always share it with 100K because it's easier number wise. What will happen then is you then go into what we call an accepted sales contract. You take that signed contract for the 100K for the property with the seller, and then you go and you put that with the title company. Now, the reason why I tell people most deals take for the students to see turnaround is about 2 months is because even if you get a deal under contract in your first 30 days, you have to put out the contract for closing on or before 6 weeks from that date. Why? You need time to run title, find buyers, all of that, get it clear to go and to go to closing. So let's say for 100K, you take that title company or you take that contract to the title company and you put it down with your EMD, your earnest money deposit. Now you could tie up a contract for as little as $1. I do anywhere from 10 to 100. And yes, you can do that. You just have to have some monetary consideration. And if the seller agrees to it, it's fine. Then what you do is you let that sit at the title company and you start marketing for buyers. When you go and market for buyers, I'm looking for cash buyers. That is more what I'm up to. They can also use hard money, private money. I'm okay with that. But as a wholesaler, you will not be seen unless you're working with people as part of the transaction, unless you work with people who have cash. So you go out there, you start marketing for buyers in the area of the property or people that are looking for that subject property, and you start marketing like crazy. A few ways to find buyers that I really love is I look for buyers who have already bought in that area for cash. I'll pull a list and reach out to them. Facebook Marketplace, groups, social media, really love Craigslist. Say what you want. I love Craigslist. I've gotten a lot of my buyers through there. Anyway, so then you're marketing to a buyer, doing marketing steps. Students, you have a 10-step marketing a buyer's training module where I share everything of how to do it, the templates, literally take you through screen of me marketing a property and what to do. So you go out there and you do that. All right. You start marketing. Then you put it out there for a higher amount. So if you got it under contract for 100K, I will mark it depending on what kind of room I know I have for negotiations. We'll say 120K out there. We start marketing to end buyers. Okay. We did all the work to get things under contract. We had to deal with the seller. We had to make hundreds of calls. You deserve to get paid just like anyone else in this business would get paid, just like agents or anyone else that's doing a service, right? So you market to 120K, somebody comes in, you guys agree on 120K, you guys write out a contract with them, and then you take that contract to the title company. Now, one thing that's really important in your marketing is you are an owner per contract. You are not the owner of the property. This little wording can get you in a lot of trouble if you say, I am the owner of the property. Okay. So instead, you take that and you go to the title company. The buyer puts their money down with the title company, not with you. This is so important. You never exchange money through your hands. They will wire their money or do whatever the title company needs to get the EMD down. I like at least $2,500 EMD non-refundable. It could be 5K, it could be 10K, depending on the price of the property. Most cash buyers know they're going to have to put several $1,000s down. I make it non-refundable. They have to do all their work beforehand. It's just something because I've had some instances where I've had to buyers back out and no recourse to them after holding my property for 6 months. So now it's non-refundable. Um, and then what I do is the title company will then order title, clear liens, do whatever it needs to do, get it cleared for closing. Now, what happens at closing is you take that. What will happen at closing is you will get the 20K in between. So the seller will get the 100K you guys agreed upon with the contract. The buyer will walk away with the property and you get that 20K profit, right? So let's summarize. That was a very detailed way, very long, but I wanted to explain it. So what happens is, in quick summary, you reach out to a seller, seller says yes, you guys go into a negotiations of the sales contract, you agree on 100K, you take that with your EMD to the title company, you have them hold that contract, making it valid, right? You then go out and start marketing for 120K, buyer comes in, you guys agree on the 120K, you guys sign a sales contract there, you take that sales contract to the title company, and the buyer puts their EMD with the title company down as well. The title company will then order title, clear you for closing, you guys go to closing, and the seller gets the property, the seller gets the 100K, I'm sorry, the buyer gets the property, and you get that 20K profit in between. That's a wholesaling deal. That's kind of the timing of all the transactions. So it requires a lot of being organized enough to time the transactions properly. Now, I will say that title companies are incredibly crucial part of your business. Please make sure you get one that's willing to help you. They need to know what you're doing. In a lot of states, wholesaling is frowned upon as far as like they want you to do it certain ways. You might have to use transactional funding or things like that, or they'll say, "Oh, I don't know what you're doing." So having an investor-friendly title company that knows that you're wholesaling a property is really crucial so that your business runs smoothly. They can also help you negotiate liens on properties. They are very, very amazing and they will make or break your like experience with a real estate deal. All right, so Laura, I know we want to talk about a little bit about seller leads, buyer leads. I kind of gave them some tips on buyer leads, but let's talk about Laura has this really cool strategy, and some of you have been a part of it, but of what's called the quick wins versus the long nurture. And whenever we talk to students and they originally are new in our program, we point them towards what's called our quick wins because when you're new, you want to see deals happening right away. So Laura, I'm just going to kind of let you jump in and I'll get off camera so that you're on the screen and you can kind of talk about quick wins and long nurture and then maybe give them some examples of the two difference.
Great. Okay. So, working with a lot of students over the years, I realized that, a lot of them come into the business and we teach all kind of ways to get leads. We teach from, simple leads like getting the MLS and driving for dollars to tax delinquent properties, pre-foreclosures and probates and bankruptcies and stuff like that. So we teach all kind of way of getting leads. And eventually, you're going to find through your business that there are some ways, especially depending, each area has a different way of doing things too, then you might say, that's a way for me to really become a specialist or in getting that type of lead generation, let's say pre-foreclosures or properties that are tax delinquent or evictions and so forth. But what I realized also is that a lot of these ways are great, but for somebody who is starting out and need to get money here in the next 4 weeks, you want to start closing deals as soon as possible, they're not the most effective. So I grouped lead generation into two categories. I grouped into what I call the quick wins and one I call the long nurture. Okay. So the common denominator between the two of them is that you want to work with property owners who need to sell. And I have a big distinction. And think about it. They need to sell, they want to sell. The want to sell are the people that, yeah, sure, if they get their price, even if it's a market or above, they will sell. Yeah, they like to sell. Anybody would, right? I think if somebody comes to you and say, I want to offer more than your house is worth, you might think about selling. The need to sell is somebody that really has a situation going on where they need to sell. They lost their job or they want to downsize, whatever the case might be. So there's the big distinction. Within the distinction also, you want to go for, in the beginning, for things that are kind of the low-hanging fruit. It's like I say, you want to go fish in a barrel. There's a barrel and it's full of fish. And so anybody, you can put your hand down there and fish, right? It's easy to really get properties and leads. So one of the things I suggest to my students is let's start with the quick wins, get you some deals, and then you can move into the long nurture. The thing is this, even if you did only quick wins for a long time, you will do a ton of deals. Let me share with you what I mean by that. Personally, when I started really investing in real estate, actually, I started with rentals. And then I stumbled into wholesaling later on. So initially, I started with rentals. And my goal was to get at least $5,000 in passive income every month within a year. Well, I actually doubled that in 18 months. But all my leads came from quick wins. I have a student, husband and wife team, that they're putting out 4 to 6 contracts a week, and all their stuff is from quick wins. So even if you mastered only the quick wins, it's not true that you cannot do deals, in this market or any market. Okay. The long nurture is great for setting systems, putting things on autopilot, getting maybe a virtual assistant. It's a great way to get more leads, more deals, but it does involve some work. So let me give you an example, and we have several quick wins, but let me give you an example on each side here. One quick win that I tell actually is tied up with a second quick win. One quick win that I always train the students, and we have the training that goes all the steps, is what I call the MLS strategy. So the MLS strategy works really well. However, you have to know what to do within that, right? What properties to look for, what is the criteria behind it. So yes, you can wholesale properties from the MLS straight out. Okay. Now the MLS strategy goes for properties that are active on the MLS, but they need to fall into certain criteria. Now, tied with the MLS strategy is the agent referral. The agent referral is as you go out there and talk, have conversations with listing agents, okay, you're going to find all kinds of agents. Some of them have an ego trip, right? Some of them don't like to work with investors. Some of them have whatever issues. That's fine. So you don't want to work with everybody, but you're going to find some agents that are more assertive, they're more willing to go and think outside the box. So you're going to create what I call this army of agents that bring deals to you, because eventually you're going to get to a point where the deals come to you. You don't have, wouldn't that be great, right? That all day you just have to sit there and decide, what am I going to do with this deal? Am I going to wholesale it? Am I going to do a rental? Am I going to do a fix and flip? They come to you every single day. So that's your goal, right? So you start with the MLS strategy together with the agent referral. So that's a quick win. And then we have several other ones. On the long term, we have what you guys know a lot of about, which is from public databases. Like it could be pre-foreclosures, tax delinquent, probate, bankruptcy, evictions, tired landlords, and so forth, right? But within each one of those, you need to know what to do. So one of the things I see is that a lot of the students go after shiny objects, right? You try one thing, but you don't do. So when I do with them, it's like put this visor on you, okay? You're on a race. You see the end, the end line. You have to go straight for it. Focus. If you decide that tax delinquent is your long nurture, then really master that strategy. We have all the training, all the tools that you need, but you need to become a specialist so good that you're going to come here and teach everybody else. Okay, so the long nurture is stuff that you get, but why do I call them long nurture? Because you have to follow up with people, you have to talk to them. They're not necessarily wanting to sell, even if they should sell, because they're probably getting foreclosed in 2 weeks, right? But it needs a little more work than the quick wins. Liz?
Okay. So what do you guys think about quick wins? What I love about this is a lot, and I'm sure she said this, but I like to reiterate a lot of what's being taught is actually a long nurture. Probates, bankruptcy, divorce, tax liens, code violations, absentee owners, door knocking, anything like that, a drive for dollars, anything like that is long nurture. And so what you're being taught is that this is the quickest way to get deals under contract. And they're great ways that don't get me wrong, we do those ways, but you're going to expect to see those probably by like Christmas time January, and not even all of them, it takes a lot of work. Whereas the quick wins, which aren't as many, they're a lot quicker though. And you can see success in your first week, getting deals under contract, first week, second week, today. And so a lot of people tend to really like to start there, and then slowly they will add in the longer nurture. Now, we go to a lot of events. We like to stay in the know. And we went to an event where there was like people doing a lot more deals than me and Laura, okay? Like billions and billions in real estate. And we were there actually for other reasons. We got an invite there, but we went um and we're sitting there, and do you know what these people who are doing 80 plus wholesale deals a month are doing? Agent referrals, MLS. Agent referrals, MLS. That's it. That's all they're doing. When they were sharing all their different deals, and that, you have to know what they're doing to kind of know the how they were getting it. They weren't publicly telling what they were doing. They were just said, this is my deal and all of this. It all came down to agent referral, MLS. And so that is something that is really, really huge for people who want to do it on a bigger scale. And then you can add in probates, you can add in bankruptcy, absentee owners and stuff like that, especially like if you live in areas where you do have a lot of absentee owners, or a lot of landlords. It would be another great way to bring in strategy. Now, we already mentioned the buyer side of things. Laura, you briefly talked about it yesterday, but before we go into Q&A and stuff, mention when they analyze deals why what's being taught, the 70% rule, is actually incredibly harmful. Because you briefly talked about it yesterday, but I do think for people here need to know why us as investors do not use the 70% rule.
Yeah. At the end of the day, when you are a wholesaler, your focus is to make at least $10,000 profit per deal. All right, period. After all expenses, after anything, and between, ever you do an assignment, you do double closing, innovation, whatever you're doing is $10,000. So the thing is this, when you do the 70% rule, it doesn't work across all the markets because some of the market, let's face it, nowadays a lot of houses are four, 500, $600,000, and that's for the medium income level homes.
Mhm.
And then when you take 70% of that, it drops it 100, $200,000 below what the properties are worth. And like I think I mentioned to you yesterday, there are property owners there. People are much more educated nowadays than they were 20, 30 years ago. So there are people there that will say, I will let my house go to foreclosure before I feel like I'm being taken advantage of and dropping the price 150, 200,000. Okay. So there is this mentality and culture around that. So once in a while, yeah, you will find somebody that's willing to take that much lower, but once in a while, you're not in the business to do once in a while business. Now,
Yep.
yes, once in a while you can still make it $100,000 profit on a deal or a lot more. But the thing is, you want a lot of smaller deals in between. That's what keeps you going. That's what keeps you motivated. That's what builds up your buyers list and your network to do deals. And when I'm talking about smaller deals in between, I'm talking the $5,000, $10,000. So how many of you will turn away 5, 6 deals a month at $5,000 to $10,000 each just
Yeah.
because you want to hold up for a bigger deal, right? So be very careful with that rule. Now, if you have, I know some of you will say, well, yeah, but I went to the RIA. I hear this all the time. I went to the RIA and the buyers say they will not buy anything over 70%. Those are not your buyers. Those are people that don't know the market, they don't know what they're doing. Good luck with that. Because they should not be looking at the 70% as a buyer of a property that needs to be rehabbed. They should look at their 15% profit after repair value. If it's a landlord, they should look at the cash flow that they make every month, like we talked about, $250, $300 per door, not the 70%. That doesn't tell me anything about a property. So stay away from that. So look at actually what the properties have sold for recently, do an average of that, and then take off your wholesaling fee.
Well, and then one of the things I want to state is a lot of people are like, yeah, but all the buyers I'm running into do 70%. Again, not your buyer. All of our students do not follow the 70% rule. And we have students have 6 deals under contract right now. We have students that are going to closing on deal number 4 in 2 months. We have students that are selling left and right to buyers because they found buyers that don't look at it that way. Those are uneducated buyers, or they're educated wrongly in like pre-inflation time. But even then, we were preaching you don't do the 70% rule. Laura's never followed that, so I never did, and I've never had the issue of doing it. Okay, so I wanted to state that because I feel like we tend to fall victim to that because it's so widely taught, but it's honestly widely taught wrong. And I have worked alongside of a lot of investors who have done hundreds of thousands of deals a month, and they don't even follow the 70% rule. They say that's stupid, especially like here in Miami, Boca Raton area, where the average house is 800 to $1 million. You're immediately knocking off 200,000 before you even do anything, even if it doesn't need work. People don't think that way. And so you just have to be very, very careful. We don't follow any rule. LJ, we don't follow any rule. But we have a formula that we follow all the way down, and that's what it is. All right, Laura. So we're about to go into Q&A, but let's talk real quickly. We had a couple of people schedule calls yesterday, and I know you wanted to give a special bonus to anyone who scheduled to today.
Yes, I call this the fast action. So for any of you that are interested and say, I would love to know how to wholesale, I would love to know how to close a deal in the next 4 to 6 weeks. We're offering actually a private one-on-one game plan. Now, it's only if you book the call today and you join the community. So not just for booking the call, okay? We obviously have limited spots available because this private one-on-one is with me personally. So what do I do this with this private one-on-one? So first of all, I'm going to discuss with you, see where you are, what you're doing with your business, what you want to do, how fast and aggressive you want to do this. And I'm going to give you the fastest path to your first deal, depending on you. I'm very good at this. I am like a doctor giving a prescription here, okay? Then I show you exactly where to start, depending on your strategy. If wholesaling is your thing, that's fine. If you're rentals or fix and flip, we start from where you want to do, not from where I want to do. Okay. And then, so you know exactly what to do. But this is where the goal is. We're going to map out the next 60 days, map out step by step. So don't only I'll personalize it to you based on the area that you want to invest, based on your time availability, based on your goals. We're also going to map out the next 60 days exactly how they're going to unfold for you so you know exactly what to expect. So we're taking away any guesswork, any roadblocks, any, oh, I'm stuck, overwhelmed, I don't know what to do, because I'm going to map it for you. I've worked with literally thousands of students. I actually have students that hire me on one-on-one to work with them ongoing, but you don't have to do that. A lot of you are new. It's better that you start in an environment with other students, like group, and start in the community. We give you a ton of calls. We do actually 4 or 5 calls a week in group calls. So you're never more than a day away, and you learn so much in these calls. So book a call today to see how you can become part of this community. And like I say, only for today. I'm gonna offer this private one-on-one real estate game plan session with me, but it's gonna be a little different than what you've seen in the past. So sometimes we offer this during webinars or whatever. This one here is with a personalized map for you to close the deals, and it's mapped out for the next 60 days. So it's basically foolproof, connected dots. You do the steps, and I tell you. And now people ask me, how many of your students are successful? My answer is this: the ones that follow exactly what I tell them is 100%.
Yep.
And I say this wholeheartedly because I have students I talk to every single day, and I see exactly the one, not only they start closing deals, they overwhelm themselves on how many deals they have under contract because
Yeah.
they follow my guidance. So hopefully you're one of them. Book a call. I'm sure the team put the link. Like I said, I will not offer this the rest of the week.
Yep. All right, so I'm going to do a couple of the questions that are in the chat. It does need to be about wholesaling, whatever questions you ask, because that's what we're focusing on today. So let me scroll and just ask a few, and then Laura actually has to go meet with one of the students, so she's got to go, so I want to answer quickly. Let's scroll up. How would wholesale work with MLS? Because wouldn't end buyers just buy off the MLS? Well, with wholesaling off the MLS, you're actually getting the price cheaper than what's listed on the MLS or what it was listed for. So when end buyers go to look, they're going to see it's actually listed higher on the MLS. And they'll
Yeah,
come
there
to
is
you.
a whole process and way of approaching it. That's why it's hard for me for us to explain it in a few minutes. But we
Yeah.
have a full training around where once you get it and you see real case studies, then you can take
That,
off and run with it.
do you use a website to draw sellers to you or do you make a list? I don't have a website. So that should go to tell you. Laura never had a website. We never had websites. We just go off of lists and we get a lot of agent referrals. We built a lot of connections with agents. So no, we don't. Going back down, I just answered that one. Can you reframe or repeat what you stated about 50%? Check out the replay because Laura has to go. So check out the replay, Kimberly. The replay is available all week, so you can check out there. We try not to repeat just so we can um keep it streamlined. All right, that's all the questions that I see. Laura, you're good to go. I'm gonna do the raffle.
Okay, well, I see everybody tomorrow. We're going to talk about rentals tomorrow, I believe.
Yes.
And I will share with you my own story of how I went from zero to over $10,000 a month in passive income within 18 months buying rentals without using bank financing. So I'll share with you tomorrow. So you want to be there. You'll have a ton of questions, I'm sure. And yeah, have a great rest of the day.
Yep. All right, so I'll answer your question in just a minute, LJ. So the raffle for today, how do you get entered into it for the people that are watching on all the other sites? Because we're also streaming on YouTube, is you just have to join our Facebook group. The team will put it into the comments for YouTube. You just have to join there. Every single member is getting added to the raffle wheel. So as long as you became a member before 5 minutes before we started today, you're on this raffle wheel. And what we are giving out as a prize today is we are actually going to give you a list of buyers, 100 buyers in the area of your chosen market so that you can start talking and building relationships with them and being able to start having buyers that are buying already in your area. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to share the screen. We have a lot more than yesterday, which is great, as you can see. And what you have to do, all you have to do is you have to email in to questions@realestateinvestingwomen.com with the zip codes that you have chosen if you chose yesterday, and we will get you that list within the next couple of weeks. If it's not this week because the team is running this, it will be next week. Are you ready? And it doesn't matter if you're, because I know I have students, they're like, am I able to be included? Yes, of course. Any member part of this in our Facebook group will be included. And she has to watch the live, so you can't tag her. They have to watch the replays. But Zoe Bloomfield, you are the winner. Congratulations. Just email in and we will get that to you within the next week. All right, so I just want to answer the one last question. I have my other screen open here. I want to answer one last question, and it was my main question is how competitive wholesaling is. There's a girl in my town who has multiple billboards advertising herself and even has mailed me a letter. I'm wondering if there are constantly wholesalers calling. Okay. This is a very common worry, fear, and things like that. I'm going to tell you something that I told myself. Okay, let's put in a perspective of real estate mentors. How many real estate mentors are there that you know, LJ? I mean, you literally came to us after visiting another one, right? There's a lot of real estate mentors out there. In South Florida alone, there's at least 20, 25 down here that I know of in just South Florida. Women real estate mentors, there's two others that I know are pretty big here, but we also have heavy competition and other ones competition, I say, like heavy, like people that are doing the same thing we're doing, promoting coaching services, right? What makes us different? It's how we show up. So as an investor, it's how you show up. I invested in Miami in the beginning. St. Pete, Tampa was my second market till recently. Highly competitive areas. I've done deals in Orlando, highly competitive areas. Chicago, I did a deal there, one deal, highly competitive area. That landed in my lap. Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, highly competitive areas. My main market is St. Louis. This is also the market where all the conferences like to go to because it's in the middle of the US. Highly competitive area. Don't worry about what others are doing. I see billboards everywhere. I see mailing letters everywhere. I rent my house right now. I'm in Boca trying to figure out the neighborhoods I like, and I rent. And guess what? I still see letters, and this house is brand new. It's a year old. So, again, don't worry about that. What I would say is be yourself, show up differently. I get people that say all the time, you've been the 10th person I call, but I'll talk to you. Why? Because I'm not there. They don't feel like I'm there just to make money off of them. They really feel I'm there to help them. I talk to them. I teach them what I'm doing with their property. If their property is in a probate, if I tell them the process, I help them through it. If it has 100K in liens, I do that too, right? So for me, to me, it's more important to help them through it and show that I'm really genuinely there. Now they know I'm making money off of it. Anyone is that does any service, it's not required for it to be free, right? You get paid for it, but you also make it fair for them. I'm not of what a lot of investors do, which try to swindle out people that don't know better out of their money. I ask them what they want. I see if it's doable. If it's not, I educate them why it's not doable based on what they're asking, and we come to an agreement. So when you show up as somebody that genuinely cares, that genuinely wants to help them out, and you talk to them, you're going to kick all those fly by night investors who are in it to make a buck. Okay, and they're not caring what happens. I think when I got really passionate about this, and then I'll close out. When I got really passionate about this, is I lived in Cape Coral when Hurricane Ian hit as a Cat 5. And the vultures that came in within days, I mean, there were like the signs up, and hearing my neighbors get taken advantage of, the older population, because it's Cape Coral, it's where everyone literally goes to retire. It's a boating community, things like that. It made me livid that people did that. And so I came in and started making calls in that area completely different. Now, sometimes I got there too late. That will happen. And they're like, I wish I would have chose you. But in the most cases, a lot of times they're not getting calls. And if they are, and we teach you how to get like not we teach you how to call when not everyone else is calling too. But if they are getting calls, that's okay. Be different, show up and help them. And don't treat them all as a transaction. Treat them as people, and you will go a lot farther than treating them as another dollar sign. Not saying that you are, but in general. Thanks. Thank you. Did you have to foreign file your LLC in each of the states? No, because some of the states I did one or two deals. No, but I have an LLC in Florida. I have an LLC in Missouri. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and jump off here because I try to keep these under 30 minutes and we're at 40. I hope today was helpful. Tomorrow we're going to talk rentals and a little bit of creative financing. Thursday we're talking fix and flip and closing out the creative financing. And then Friday we're going to talk about how to do this all virtually. And you will actually learn exactly what I did to delegate and get everything virtual. I would recommend coming all every day, even if you're not interested in flips or rentals, because eventually you will be. So it'll be good for you to understand kind of what's going on and what's happening. Plus, we always drop a lot of, like Laura says, her golden nuggets. I hope that today was really, really helpful. Schedule your call so you can get that game plan. Laura's not going to offer it the rest of this week. You have to have scheduled today. Even if you don't talk to them today, you got to schedule today. And I can't tell you enough what it's like to work, like have a game plan and have her be the one, 4 decades of experience. I'm not trying to pitch it. I'm literally just stating you have somebody that literally I've never seen her not be able to answer a question. And I've been working with her closely for 10 years on the real estate field. I've asked her 5,000 questions, if not more. Students ask. She is a powerhouse, and you would be lucky to have this call with her. And I don't say that to be pretentious. I just say that to be honest. She's amazing. So schedule a call if you decide to join. Our community is amazing. I love our community. We have different levels of support, so it reaches different budgets, but just schedule calls, see how we can help you. All right, ladies, have a wonderful day. I'll see you.